This week, I'm here with Shermin Lakha. Lakha, as in Boom Shakalaka. I'm just kidding. We were just talking about that.
Reference.
I got that, right?
Yeah.
If you got the reference of Boom Shakalaka, then you could continue listening or watching the show. So Shermin is the founder of LVLUP, which was a female-only law firm. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about that first. Why did you want to start a female-only law firm?
So when I started my practice, I actually started as a solo, and I really kind of backed into it. I had a big law job, and I just wasn't passionate about what I was doing, so I quit.
What were you doing?
I was doing internal compliance. I was just helping the law firm out from the internal perspective, working in-house. And then I was at Goldman Sachs. I was at the U.S. Attorney's Office. I had done kind of everything you were supposed to do to, get the best job possible.
Post-law school.
Yeah, so I did everything that you were supposed to do, got the big law job that I wanted, and then at 29, I was just unhappy with it, so I quit. And at the time, I was like, okay, let me just figure out what I'm going to do. I've never taken a break in my life, so I'm going to take a break, figure out what job I want next. But I had friends that were like, oh, can you help me with some legal work? Before I couldn't, but I was like, let me just do this. So I was like, all right, let me put up a website. Let me not help people.
Like what type of legal work?
Business and intellectual property, which is what I do now. So it was mostly just reviewing contracts. People were like, hey, do you mind reviewing this contract for me? I was dirt cheap at the time. I was like, for sure, whatever, I'll do it for you. But then after a while, it kind of kept flowing through, so I put up a website.
Did you have a price, or was it just like a pay me what you feel?
So that's kind of how we started in the flat fee model. I was like, I don't have time to set up, all of my billables and have all the tracking. A lot of that costs a lot of software money. So I'm like, it's a flat fee. This is what I'm going to do. And that worked out. Sometimes, yes, it took a little longer. Sometimes it didn't take as long, but it evened out that way. And then I was like, all right, I don't have any money to really start anything. So I started marketing on social media. So I posted that I was launching my own law firm. From that, I got so busy all of a sudden. And it was 2019, so I was one of the first to really promote on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. We didn't have TikTok at the time.
So this is a common theme that I hear on the show, where people literally, they start their business, but they're like, how do I get out there? How do I start my business? And the biggest advice that's come from career coaches, which I've had a couple on the show, is just put your open sign up. Just literally tell people that you're open for business.
I cannot recommend that more. Like, people always say, like, oh, social media it could be, so toxic and this. It's before, if someone wanted to start a business, they didn't really have an option other than spending a ton of money on advertisement. Social media is a free tool and people can use it, and I definitely did. So 100% the number one key is to, first of all, not be afraid. Don't be shy. Don't be embarrassed. At the time, I remember putting my first post up, I was a little bit like, oof, my God, are people going to judge me? Who do I think I am? But after a while, business started coming in. So there you go. And now it's how we market our entire business.
So we're in your current office. Mm-hmm. You have how many associates?
So right now I have 8. Wow. So we have 4 attorneys.
In less than 5 years, you now have 8 people under you?
We just celebrated our 5th year anniversary.
Oh,
so
mazel tov.
Thank you. But yeah, from going from a solo, and then after that, I ended up bringing on 2 interns that came with me full time. And then there was 3 of us after they graduated, and people were like, oh, you're the all-female law firm. Like, this is so cool. And I was like, okay, let me think about this a bit, because really I was just doing business and intellectual property, representing startups, creators, entrepreneurs. So that was sexy in itself. And then I thought more about the branding, and I thought, all right, let me actually take an idea about, being the all-female law firm. In New York City, you can throw a rock and hit 50 attorneys. Everybody's an attorney. Everyone wants to start a law firm. Like, what is going to make us different? So I started with that branding of being the all-women law firm, working with a lot of female founders. Exactly. And, that happened for about 5 years. And this year was the first time we decided we always had the opportunity to open it up to men, but women just really were the ones that only applied, and they were the most qualified.
Right, because if you're branded as such, you'd only think that women would think that I'm going to be the one working at the female-only law firm.
Exactly. And it has to be someone who understands and, respects the feminine energy. So this year we were really, really adamant on letting people know that, hey, if you're a guy, there's more than enough space for you. We would love to have you in here. And we got our first 2 male interns, because I do think while being female is something all female is very strong, right now it's really about being inclusive. And so we want to really rebrand ourselves again as more of just a modern law firm. Women owned. I own the business. All of the attorneys are women, but the support staff and, you know, anybody else who wants to come on board, we're definitely open to men, and just really changing the dynamic to be just all over inclusive.
So did you ever also think to lean in on minority owned also?
So that, you know, what's funny is that we're mostly minority, and I didn't even plan it that way either. I think it just happened. So minority owned, women owned, all of the associates are minority, and that's been something people have noticed as well, is that, and I've seen a lot in the legal space and all the time, a lot of times minority attorneys end up starting their own practices because they don't feel like there's room in a lot of the bigger places for them to actually scale and grow.
Oh, because I'm assuming, and tell me if this sounds right, it's like if you're an associate, if you're a minority associate at a big law firm, if the law firm's been around for 1-2 decades or more, the minority might not look like the people at the top. So for them to climb, it's much more difficult because the people at the top generally, based on history, want people like them to rise to the top with them.
I mean, that's just history in itself, like
Yes.
everywhere we go, and I think that's finally changing, and that's something
Amen.
that I'm really passionate about, is just changing what it looks like to be an attorney. I really don't feel like being professional correlates with what we used to think. Like, I know you kill it, and I've been to some of your events, and like, you can come in with a sweatshirt and a hat, and still, I already know, like, you're gonna kill it, right? It doesn't make a difference if you come in a suit because I just know who you are.
Right, like I'm coming here to interview an attorney, and I'm not throwing on a suit.
I'm not throwing on a suit either.
Yeah, exactly. Literally, hoodie and my painted shoes.
I love it. But I think that's important, just changing that conversation of what we always thought was successful in terms of any type of, you know, traditional career.
Amen. So we talked about this before the show, and now is what I really want to know. Where did it all begin? Like, I don't mean the law firm. I don't mean when you left your job that you hated when you were 29. I'm talking about like 20 years before that, when you were at the single digits.
Yeah.
Yeah? Were you
Okay.
arguing with your parents when you were 5, 6, 7 years old, and they were like, you're going to be an attorney?
Well, what's funny is that, you know, I talked to some of my friends now who knew me before, and they were like, you were always going to do this. You were always so entrepreneurial. I was like, I was? I don't know. But I think I've always grown up with a little bit of a chip on my shoulder. So I'm from Seattle originally. My parents are still there. And I remember being like, I'm going to move to New York. I think I watched like way too much Sex in the City. Funny enough, I'm rewatching the show again, and I'm like, ooh, this still really applies. Did I manifest
Are you talking
this?
about like late 90s, early 2000s?
Yeah, nothing has changed. If you're going to if anybody rewatches that show.
Well, I remember the show. I was an avid watcher, and Meatpacking District looks a lot different now
the
than it
city
did.
looks different,
Yeah.
but the problems are all the same.
Oh, yeah.
So I was like, I just want to come to New York. All of the best people here, the hardest workers. I wanted to be in that environment. So it wasn't that I always wanted to be a lawyer. In fact, I think that that's kind of why I did leave, is that I didn't always want to be a lawyer, but I know that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And it's funny because I used to hate it when people would say, like, you know, what you're supposed to do is going to come to you. It's going to, you know, everything happens for a reason. And I was like, that's not going to happen for me. I'm going to be someone who has a job, does it, and then I'm going to find my passions outside of work. Funny enough, like, this is my passion. Like, every day, Monday is my favorite day of the week. I love what I do. I think being in the business of running a business is really what I'm passionate about versus just being an attorney. So I get to do both, which is great.
The sentiment that you started with there with, oh, I'm going to follow the path and I'll find my passion outside of work, that is what most people do.
Yes.
And that's not what doers do. That's not what entrepreneurs do. Mm-hmm. They follow the lead, and then they go and they find, well, let's call it a hobby that they're passionate about. But when you could find a passionate job, well, not even a job, when you could find a passionate career and it becomes your lifestyle, that's as special as it gets.
Exactly. I think also entrepreneurs, we have this thing where people are always telling me, like, oh, you work so much, or you get to do so much fun stuff every day with what you do with your work. It also is I feel like what I do is kind of similar to real estate in a sense. Your relationships are everything. The community you build, showing up for people. So my day starts from 7 a.m. till 10 or 11 p.m. at night. I'm always out and about in the city. I'm always moving, meeting people. Like, we've met. I've been to your event. Like, I just always show up. And because of that, you become somebody that people know and respect. It's all about being someone people can trust, rely on, see you, and see what you can do. In New York, I mean, it's saturated, but at the same time, it feels like a small town sometimes, because everybody who is an entrepreneur or a doer, we all move in a similar circle.
And you're right, it is hard to stick out. So when you really lean in on the branding that you have with building your whole company, that's special. And that's probably something that, on top of that, did you know, like, I need to go network so much? Or did someone advise you, you need to go network? This is part of the business. You're not going to meet new people watching Netflix. You need to be out and about. You need to be the face of this company if you're going to grow.
So someone asked me the other day who my mentors were in all of this. I didn't have any mentors. I just really was throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what stuck. No Italian pasta reference intended. But yeah, so when I was looking for clients, and I get this question a lot, how do I get my first clients? How do you even start getting clients? Social media was one thing, but it was people that I knew in my circles that were all working with me because they knew that I could do the work. And I really wanted to be around people that inspired me. So I joined a bunch of women-founded network groups or founder network groups.
Are you on Dreamers and Doers?
I believe I am, yes. Yes, I am. They have a LinkedIn group too, right?
Maybe. I don't know. Years ago, my cousin was in Dreamers and Doers, and she had connected me with many people in the past.
Yeah.
And I just from that Facebook group, I just love the term doers. That was the first time I'd ever heard it. And it's a full female group of dreamers and doers, and I've seen a lot of successful people through there.
Well, those groups, those communities where people are looking, and it's so interesting because I'm part of so many different groups, and it's crazy because some of the people who were there were like, hey, I just started a business. I look back now 5 years later and their business is blown up. I'm like, what? But I do think that that's showing people who are doers, people who are reaching out and showing up and engaging in community. I find that doers are hard to come by these days because I know that, like, when I bring somebody in here, if they're a doer, they're staying with me. And that's something that I really value, especially when our millennials, what we had to do to get to where we are, we know. But sometimes I'm looking at the next generation and I'm like, they're so entrepreneurial, but doing the work is something else. And I really, really hope that the ones that do stick out the most, because it's how you get stuff done.
I find that the same exact way. So I've had junior agents for the last, 7-8 years. And I've had people who are my age and older than me who have had a difficult time listening to me and actually succeeding and doing the work. Yeah. And then I've had a couple who were younger who didn't want to put in the work, but then you find those few who want to put in the work. You find those few. Those are the golden. You find those couple, those little, that handful who want to ask more questions. And that's what I tell all my people. Everyone I mentor, I tell them, do not hesitate to ask me a question. Yeah. If it's something that you could Google easily, like what color is the sky, don't ask me that.
Yeah, don't ask that.
But if it's something that has some sort of, it doesn't even need to be so advanced and involve any critical thinking. Just any question, ask me. Yeah. Because if you don't know the answer, I might. And if I do, I'm happy to tell you and explain and educate you. And then I'll probably tell you more and more and more. And seeing this younger generation, these kids who want to learn, you just want to hold on and not let them go. Exactly.
But also it's from our angle to be able to learn from them. So same as the people that may be more senior than you, they just have a little bit of a blockage.
Oh my God. Gosh. And they think that oh, well, I'm 10 years older than you, so therefore you should listen to me. And they give out that vibe also.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So
I hate it.
I think a lot of the women too that maybe have been more experienced than I, they came from that Wall Street culture where they were the only women in the room, and they still have a little bit of that competitive nature. Whereas like a lot of millennial women, we're open to receiving and providing mentorship. And so I'm always learning from my team. Like, they keep me young. If I need a Gen Z trend or anything that's going on, I ask them. Fashion tips, always they know. And I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that, but I'll go with it. But anything that they're even saying what's about happening with businesses, what they've seen is trending, you know, from a business perspective, even case law. So we cover a lot of cases with Vogue Business and do some coverage. Like, they'll tell me what's going on because I have my brain in a million different places. So it's been really helpful to have them take initiative and just be doers. And the ones who don't do work, I had a friend mention this. It's called theater work, and I hate that. When someone's like, oh my God, I'm so busy. And I'm like, oh, what do you have to do? They're like, oh, I have to go to like the post office, or I have to just like go get coffee with someone. I'm like, oh, you have to just go to the post office to get coffee. Like, it's not that big. I'm like, what's this theater that you're doing? Like, get to work, get focused, make a to-do list, just get yourself organized. That's one of my biggest tips too. I'm a crazy to-do list person.
To piggyback on that, tell me about a couple of your pet peeves.
A pet peeve.
I'll start. Today's Thursday. Yesterday's Wednesday. I have a business partner on a business that we're starting, and hit him up yesterday. He's 25. What's your schedule for the rest of the week? He was away in Austin for a few days. What's your schedule the rest of the week? Let's link up. How's next Tuesday? And I'm like, it is Wednesday. It is Wednesday. Don't tell me 6 days from now. I want you to tell me something in the next 24 to 48 hours, or we're going to sit down for 2 hours.
So a lack of urgency is a pet peeve. Yeah.
Huge pet peeve.
Yeah.
Especially, like, we got to hop on the phone. We could hop on a FaceTime. I'll make myself available.
Yeah.
If I'm driving, I'll pull over if you want to talk for 20 minutes, and I'll FaceTime you. Like, I cannot stand the lack of urgency. And in New York City, people need to be more urgent. That's what drew me to moving back to New York after college.
Yeah.
I almost moved to LA, but I'd be there for 3-4 days. And I'm like, what is wrong with you people? We're walking down the block, and they're 20 feet behind me because they're just strolling.
And that's not just an analogy.
No, that's real.
That's real.
That's real, and it's an analogy.
Yeah, exactly. Lack of urgency is one thing. And it's kind of the millennial culture that we were in. We were just taught to really push ourselves, work late, put in the hours and do that. And so there's a lot of boundaries in the new generation. And I think that's something we could learn too, because man, like, the boundaries are real, which is great. But I do think that in order to be successful, sometimes you just gotta like show up and be urgent. And there's so much moving right now. Everybody has an idea. Everybody's really, really putting it out there. And it's, you don't want to ever miss the boat with the lack of urgency. I think for me, a pet peeve would be someone who just talks about it. Like, if you're going to talk about it, be about it. Don't just say you're going to do something, actually do it. And, even I've met so many people that are like, I really want to start a business, or I really, really want to start a fashion company, or even if I really want to start pushing on social media, I really want to scale my personal brand. Okay, do it. And then they say like, oh, I just don't really want to post, or I just get embarrassed, or like, what do I do? Sit there and learn it. I mean, if a 14-year-old can do it and is killing it, like, there's ways to do it. And I think people get in their own way the things they want. And some people, a friend of mine told me this. She's like, sometimes I get afraid of success. As weird as that sounds, like, you're getting so close to getting everything you wanted that it brings in fear, where you're almost scared of being too successful because you don't know what it's going to bring you. And sometimes I feel that way too. Like, I'll be working with a client, or I have an opportunity next month to speak at Cannes Film Festival.
Oh, dope.
Exactly.
And you're flying out?
I'm flying out.
Oh, nice.
I'm say less, south of France. Yeah, exactly. But that was one of my first times actually having a little bit of imposter syndrome. Like, wow, like, this can open up so many doors for me. Who am I going to meet? Am I going to, I've done some work in the film industry. I've done some deals for joint ventures. Like, what's going to really open that up to me?
That just got me fired up, knowing that you're going
Exactly. First of all, I don't know what I'm going to wear yet. Is another thing. But, each of those things have just been so exciting, where I'm like, is it, like, almost makes me nervous. Like, is it too much? Am I, can I really do this? but just leaning in and just saying yes and saying, why not? You know, if not me, then who?
Does part of success in your industry come with the size of checks? So in my business, you know, when I first started, I'm renting $2,500, $4,000 apartments, and my commission checks are, as you can imagine, of that or maybe smaller, versus then selling a $600,000 home, and then selling a $2 million home, and then selling a $10 million home, and seeing what that check looked like. And it's like, wait, I did less work to sell this $10 million home that I did for this $600,000 home. But so many people stick with the lower price point because they think that that's not me. I don't know how to do that. But so in your industry, is there like is there a jump? Is there somewhere where you start billing more, where you're billing? How does that work?
That's one of my biggest struggles, actually. So it's been helpful to have a team around because I still come from a little bit of a lack mentality when it comes to clients. We are so busy. We work with major clients, and I still will sometimes take work that I honestly shouldn't take because we have so much work and it takes up my capacity or our team's capacity. But it's one of those things where I'm like, I've been in a situation where I didn't have business for a while or I was slow, and I still have that in my head where I'm like, if there's money on the table, I'm going to take it. I'm going to take it. And that's something that I had to just reprogram in my head. And I think a lot of women face that too. Always undercharging, never, you know, doing the work that's my value. And so that's something I've been really working towards. Some people say we're too expensive. I don't think we're too expensive for the quality of work. It just depends on what you want. But I have a male friend who's an attorney in a similar space, and he's told me to my face, he's like, Shermin, I wouldn't do half the amount of time or work or dedication you put to a client and still make double what you do because you just take it. And I think maybe that's what makes me an empathetic lawyer, and I work with underrepresented founders, so I want to just really provide the best service possible. But again, my time is also valuable too, so I'm really working on that. But a lot of my big clients, like, I think it just happens over time through network.
So while figuring out how to do that, is it just you figuring it out, or have you now adopted mentors?
So it's honestly my team. So when I'm on a call, the way that I do things is I do a 15 to 30-minute consultation. When I met somebody, we close them right there, you know, fees up front, because that's just always the way it's been.
You take the full fee up front?
The full fee up front. It just helps in terms of our billables. We know exactly what we're doing. We honestly don't have time to chase anybody. We're a volume business. We work with so many amazing clients. And so a lot of my team would say, like, you know, that's something that we should be charging more for. So we'll up our prices. One thing that we do that's different from a lot of law firms is we put all our prices on our website. So complete transparency. I think people have a big fear. They're like, okay, what's my lawyer going to charge me, or what's my accountant going to charge me? There's this whole thing like, hire a lawyer, you're going to hit with a big bill, $10,000 bill. So people have a fear, and maybe they don't feel like attorneys are accessible to them. So if someone calls me, they'll honestly tell me, they're like, thank you so much for putting your prices on your website, because now I know that it's not wasting my time, it's not wasting their time. They already know how much it's going to be depending on what they want. And then a lot of times it's their first time hiring an attorney, so they get that access, and then they stay on with us. So we don't even do retainers, all flat fee. You know, use us when you need us. We don't believe in these big, large retainers that, you know, you're getting billed every minute on the minute.
Well, are you doing any litigating?
No, we don't do litigating.
Right. So, like, I guess if you're doing litigating, then it would be a matter of, you know, all right, it's going to end up costing X amount more, because, like, if you're charging a certain amount, you almost know how much you're biting off.
Exactly. Well, we work with a lot of people who are trying to avoid litigation. So litigating definitely is pricey, right? You're paying, you know, a 5-6 figure retainer sometimes. But it's also, if you're somebody that, you know, you can't afford that type of retainer, but you were violated in some way, you know, whether somebody wasn't fulfilling a contract and you were owed money, those people come to us and we end up negotiating at least something for them. So, and we do it based on a contingency too. So that's helpful.
That's really helpful.
And it makes sure that we do our work too.
I mean, for them to even hear that, it basically says that you're going to put your money where your mouth is.
Exactly.
Which I love.
Yeah.
When was the moment, was there a moment when you thought, all right, Shermin, you tried. Let's pack it up. Let's go back to our 9 to 9, our 9 to 9.
Yeah.
Like, your parents were right. You shouldn't have started your own business. Nah, your parents didn't say that, right?
No, my parents are the most supportive.
I love that.
My dad's an entrepreneur too, so he's
amen.
always just been like, you know, he was the one who was like, if it doesn't work out, just get another job. Like, you have your education. There's nothing.
So what was the moment?
So it was, I guess it was a year and a half ago. It was December, and
December 2022.
December 2022. We had just got an offer for our firm and to be acquired, and obviously it's such an honor at that stage, 3 years in. And they really wanted me to be a director for their New York office, and they were just going to use LVLUP and our clients, and they even allowed us to keep the name as a sub-arm of the business, which was exciting. At the same time, we had a pipe burst in this office, so this whole office was destroyed. We had to have it redone. So we had no place to work, and I'm like, oh, it's a sign. And
are you spiritual?
I am, but lately, I don't know. I've had some weird things happen where I'm like, am I spiritual? But yes, I am. And I really believe in signs. I really believe in just energy and astrology. I feel like at this stage, whenever you're an entrepreneur, you have to believe in energy of some sort. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, how are you going to read on anybody? But yeah, so it was like so much was happening. And then my 2 interns that started with me, that I had started the business with, they came on full time. They got offers at big firms too. So basically, it was just me having to start over again because the offers they got were amazing. I was so proud of it too because when they interviewed, like, the firm was impressed what they did here.
Right? So the firm that was acquiring you were they part of the package?
They were part of the package, but honestly, they wanted me to basically do what I do: run around the city, get clients, really be the face of the business because lawyers are generally boring. So they needed somebody who was able to be the face of the business, which is
Shermin the Dream.
Shermin the Dream, and that's what I love to do too. So it was really it sounded very good, but for me, I think it's a matter of being in control, and also I just wasn't ready yet. I'm like, I feel like there's more I could be doing. And so I turned down that offer, which was hard to do. We rebuilt this office.
Yeah.
I rehired new staff, trained them, and it was probably the best decision I made because there's so many other things I'm passionate about that I'm able to do with the practice, and I just think I am a great employer and I'm not a great employee. So I don't think I could work for anybody.
When you're facing a hard decision, like whether or not to sell your business, what do you do? What do you do to think?
What do I do to think? I am a doer. I'm not much of a thinker. That's one thing that I'm working on. But I definitely talk to my dad. He is somebody who we're both natural risk takers, my dad and I. So whenever I'm about to do something that seems risky, he's always giving me the best advice in terms of we kind of run the same way in the way that we think. And, you know, I'm South Asian, so it's sometimes uncommon for a daughter to be, you know, getting advice from their father who really respects them. So my dad, I'm so grateful. He respects me as a businesswoman. So while I'm still his daughter, he talks to me in a way that is as like a colleague, like what he would advise or do himself, which I really appreciate. But a lot of times it's just me making the decision. And that's, I think, the hardest thing about being a solo founder or a sole owner of a business is that so many people rely on you. But when things are going, you know, wrong or stressful, you're just literally smile on your face. And sometimes when everybody leaves, I'm like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? Like, it's a lot. So it's not for the faint of heart, that's for sure.
Are there any female founders who you look up to?
So many. There's so many.
Who's your number one?
Oh my gosh, who's coming to my head right now? You know, I really, really respect Kate Luzio. She's the founder of The Luminary. She used to work directly under Jamie Dimon, took her bonus money, built out her own studio, self-funded as a women's networking group. She was one of the first to really support me in my business and make the intros I need to start my business.
The Luminary's here on Broadway?
Yeah, it's on 29th and Broadway. She's great. I love Sandra Campos. She was formerly the CEO or president of DVF. Michelle Grant, she sold Lively. It was a women's undergarment company, and she was one of the first to start affiliate marketing. Now she has a brand called Get Gorgy, which is a energy drink. So a healthy energy drink. I don't want to like butcher anyone's businesses because I know them, but
and respect it.
Respect it, yeah. And then also I get to work with some of them too, which has been really great.
I love that. Has anyone ever offered you equity in exchange for work?
Yes. So it's funny enough, I have equity in a lot of sports companies. I could not even tell you the dynamics of football or basketball or anything, but I have equity in a sports app called FanUp. I'm actually going to Miami this weekend for a
pickleball.
Not pickleball, actually. It's a competitor of Skims. They're called Him Underwear, and they're doing a big NFL party because they're similarly working with a bunch of athletes and people who are going to be wearing and modeling the underwear for equity. So,
okay.
Yeah, it's a great brand. A travel company, like a couple of different businesses, and that's because I really believe in them. I think a lot of startups obviously paying for a lawyer and they need the services.
And also when you're starting up, like, you know what the startup costs are, but then you're going to need that attorney again.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, the equity, right now I'm in a position to be able to take some equity on certain businesses. One of the businesses I did take equity and ended up closing, which was unfortunate. And I worked my ass off on their stuff.
Yeah, but that's part of the game.
Exactly.
That's like part of the game. Like, VCs have it's a 75% failure rate. Mm-hmm. So 3 out of every 4 businesses that start flop.
It's those few though. Like, look at Gary Vee. That's what he did. He spent all of it. He put all of his money into like a few startups, and there you go. So it really just, you just gotta get lucky. I have my eye on a couple that I have equity in that I'm like, these are the ones. These are going to be the ones. I know it.
What do you think is going to be the catalyst to get them over the top?
So I think it's just time, fundraising. Obviously, access to capital is huge. But again, social awareness, social media, activations. It depends on the business. So even this party that I'm going to this week, or I think it's this weekend. God, what day is it? I know it's not Thursday to Tuesday. That's all I know.
Okay.
But I think it's just getting out there, getting the investors in place. So I guess the best thing is access to capital for a startup to be able to scale.
Love that.
Mm-hmm.
What are you reading right now?
So I always keep a kind of a self-improvement or educational book and a fun book. And it depends on my mood of the evening. I'm really trying to read more and put, devices down. The book that I'm reading that's more educational is The 48 Laws of Power. I surprisingly haven't read it, but people keep referencing it to me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, maybe I should read this, or maybe I shouldn't. I don't know. But I'm enjoying it.
It's good. So for me, 48 Laws was just... because it's so old. Like, I could see... It does ring true. But for me... I like something more recent, more close to the cuff, something I could relate to more. And while there's a lot of stuff in there that you can relate to, mm-hmm. I've read 48 Laws, but
what do you recommend?
My Bible would be Never Split the Difference, Chris Voss. Like, the best. Like, I've read it.
It's all in the title, Never Split the Difference.
Never Split the Difference. Chris Voss is the world's #1 hostage negotiator, and he wrote a book about negotiating and more so how to talk to people, how to control situations. And I have it on Audible as well, and I will go and I will just listen to chapters here and there. Like, each chapter is a different technique. So, like, I have a big meeting tomorrow, like something I'm dreading, and I need to think of the best way to go into this conversation and control it. So I went to chapter 4, and I literally at the gym yesterday was just listening to chapter 4, and it was going through how to use tactical empathy and how to frame the conversation and how to anchor the conversation and really putting all the problems on the table. So when you go into a conversation and you know what's going to make them upset, you know what you're going to say, what's really going to drive them to really hate you. Yeah. You say that first. You say that first, Shermin. I came into your office. I couldn't find my way to the bathroom. I know you're pissed that I peed on the rug. It's wet. It's ruined. You probably hate me, but I'm gonna order you a better rug. I'm gonna get. And it's weird example, but I'm looking around. That's all I could think of. But it's a matter of like framing the issue and really telling them what is gonna make them upset. So you've already put it out there, so they can't even say it. But now you're gonna say how you're gonna remedy it. Yeah. And then you paint them a picture, and now you express tactical empathy, where now you're trying to be on the same team. Here's the issue. Let's work through it.
I need to read that book for sure.
It's really good.
Yeah.
It's really good. Never Split the Difference.
Never Split the
Bible.
Difference.
And like we were talking about why I started this show, a big part of it is because I wanted to talk to successful people and grab like 5, 10, 15% of what you've done in your life and see how I could learn from it. Yeah. And if I could learn from it, then people listening and watching should be able to learn from it as well. Not grabbing like 100% of your life and just do what Shermin did, but like something about what you did. And that's what I love to get from different self-help books, but even from some fiction books. Yeah. So that is my number one, which even I'll read 2-3 books and then I'll go back to Never Split the Difference.
Okay. I haven't been suggested that yet. Surprisingly.
Oh my God.
Who am I talking to? Oh gosh.
I can give you books that like literally have a purpose. So many books they all said a lot of the same shit. Yeah. So another book that got me going was Executive Toughness by Dr. Jason Selk. As a business owner, that's actually like, that needs to be on your list.
Do you have a whole list going on your Instagram or anything? I need to get on there.
Here we go. I don't think I've ever said this on the show. Bookshop.org. Okay. And you just look up the Self-Starter. You know what? Just go to the Self-Starter's IG page. It's at Self-Starter Show. Yeah. And in the profile on my link tree is a link to bookshop.org. All the books that I recommend are not just on bookshop.org. How have you
not talked about this?
So there's my TMB list, which are my books, and they're in order of recommendations. And then I have the Self-Starter Show list, which is the list of all books that everyone on the show has recommended.
Oh my gosh.
So if I'm ever like, oh, I need a new book, if I don't have something in the queue that I want to go pick up, I'll just go to the Self-Starter list and I'll see what someone has recommended in the past. So bookshop.org, Self-Starters, and more importantly, the TMB list. I'll send it to you.
Oh my gosh, please do. Yes. I'm always looking for new books right now.
So let's circle back. What's the fiction book that you're currently reading?
Oh, it's It Ends With Us.
I'm trying to think.
I don't remember who the author is, but Blake Lively is in the movie, and so.
Oh.
Yeah, it's coming out. It's pretty good so far. I finished 7 Husbands of. I forget who my brain's not working anymore. But 7 Husbands. That was very good.
Okay.
It's always fun. I actually love books that are set in New York, and I love books that are set in a time. I love reading things from a perspective of somebody who's lived a long time, because I find it really inspiring when people are reflecting on their lives and the decisions they made. And sometimes I think about that with myself too, when I first started, and how excited and hungry, and I was like, how am I ever going to end up doing anything? And then you get to even today, the stage I am, and I think about myself in my 20s, and I'm just like, wow, it's interesting. Had I known then what I know now, that I'd be okay, I would have operated differently. So it's always nice to read books when someone's older and they're going back and you get to kind of hear their story. I love that.
In a similar sentiment, I always, whenever anyone I'm mentoring is has this big problem, this big issue, and they can't get over it, they're so upset about it.
Exactly.
I'm just like, how old are you? 26? Are you going to live to be 36? Yes.
Yeah.
How about 46? Yep. You think you'll be 76? Yep. Oh, so you got another 50 plus years to go. This doesn't matter.
Yeah.
This doesn't matter. You're literally going to look back at this in a month as a remember that time when, let alone in years from now.
Exactly.
Just take a breath and go with your gut and keep it moving.
Exactly. I think that when I'm tired too, because I'm there's going to be a time in my life where I'm going to remember this time when I'm running around and I'm exhausted all the time, and then I'm just going to be sitting when I'm older being It was kind of fun. It was kind of fun being so busy all the time. And so it's good. I think being an entrepreneur, there's obviously ups and downs, but a lot more upside, in my opinion.
Like, think about it, you're going to con.
Mm-hmm.
Have fun with the build up to con.
Oh,
film yourself thinking about con. Film yourself going shopping for what you're going to wear at con, trying stuff on, talking about it. You should make a whole video, not just for social media, for yourself, for the future, of just the build up to con, because that's huge.
I know. I'm so grateful. It's going to be incredible. I'm excited.
Like, the contacts that you're going to make, and I can only one of my best friends went to con a couple years ago, and we were talking about this last week, that the contacts that he made at con was the domino that took his company to the next level.
I know. I'm so grateful, and I'm speaking at the Marquee on the Marché, so I'm like,
oh my God.
I know. It's all about like contacts.
You have to be nervous. There's not even like it's like, oh, don't be nervous. You gotta
I'm
be
trying
nervous.
to do more grounding, because I think a lot of it is I live like almost doing things and I'm just kind of going, and sometimes I need to do a little bit of grounding work where I can be like, holy shit, I'm gonna be at cons, I'm gonna be speaking, and my name is gonna be there. Like, again, one of my first experiences recently with like a sense of like, how is this happening to me? So it's really exciting, but it's been in the play for some time now, so I'm almost like, I need to get my stuff together, I'm ready to go. But yes, I'm so excited.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That's so awesome.
Yes.
What is one book that you would recommend to anybody?
Oh man, one book that I'd recommend to anybody. I mean, something so simple as just like The Alchemist is the only thing coming to my head right now. Is that a favorite?
It's been recommended more than once on the show.
It's been recommended by everyone because it's a simple read. I'm definitely more of like a novel reader, so I just like to use it as an escape mechanism. I think a lot of my time is like screens and people, and I'm always learning, which is I love. But sometimes I just need an outlet to put myself into someone else's story and just escape. And I love that about reading. So a lot more novels. And
how do you consume?
Physical book, always.
Paper book only?
Paper book,
Paperback?
yeah. I can't do any more electronic devices.
What about Audible?
No, I don't do Audible, which is weird because I'm a listening learner.
Oh, so when you commute, do you drive? You take the subway home?
I take the subway, and I'm a music girl, or I'm on the phone all the time. That's honestly when I'm like...
Subway?
Well...
You live in Queens?
No. I live in Williamsburg, but like it's a quick commute under the subway. Yeah. But when I walk to the subway, I'm always like catching up with people.
Got it.
So that's when I can chat and all that.
I love that. So what does the next 6 months look like for the company?
Honestly, like there's so much that always happens here. We're always laughing because it's like never a dull moment. We are hoping to move into office space. We're working
down in Tribeca.
Fingers crossed that everything happens with that. I'm doing a lot more from the personal branding side. So cons, we have an event hopefully with Shopify, our second event. Just doing more activations and engagement, and just really scaling. I'm actually taking the Florida bar this summer to expand out potentially in Miami as well.
Oh, that's awesome. I just passed my Florida real estate license exam.
Gosh.
I am officially a Florida licensee.
That's the smartest thing.
And I have a listing, $5.85 million townhouse in South Beach, which my partner, Elliot Machado, he listed it because I didn't have my license yet. And I will say it, I failed the state exam 6 times.
They're hard. And also you're busy.
6 times. So yesterday when I finally passed it.
Oh, yesterday.
Oh
my gosh, congrats.
Lucky numbers. The first time I took the exam, it took me over 3 hours. Well, yesterday, I was in and out of there in under 45 minutes. And it's funny, so you go to like Pearson test taking place, and every time they hand me when I leave, the score, like it's folded up and they hand it to me and I open it up and it's like fail. And my test scores were like a 67, 65, 69, 69. And yesterday, I got out of there in under 45 minutes, which I was like 103 questions.
Yeah.
And they just hand me the paper that just says pass right on the top.
Oh my god!
I was like, oh, I wanted the flip. I wanted to do like the flip open and the surprise.
Well, now you know they only give you the flip if it's a fail.
Exactly. But I'm excited because now I could legally market the listing. I could legally go and talk to more buyers, more sellers in Miami.
Yeah.
And I'm now going to start pivoting my entire business, my entire persona to Miami, New York luxury.
Yeah, and I think that's the way to go because honestly, New York taxes are too high. That's really what it is. That's honestly why I'm like a lot of the reason why I want to go there is just because there's more business opportunity. There's just so many people moving down there. It's just a huge creator economy, which is a lot of my clients. So I'm super excited. Better weather, you know?
Yeah.
But I'm New York through and through, though. New York is honestly having a moment right now.
You're preaching to the choir with this.
I know. Yeah. Like lately, I'm actually going to Miami on Saturday, and I'm like, I don't want to leave New York.
Yeah.
New York is having such a moment right now.
I was talking to my wife about this last night because like now that I passed, she's like, so are we moving to Miami? I was like, give me back and forth.
6 months in a day. Yeah.
My brother lives down in Key Largo. Mm-hmm. He's been in Florida other than like 3 years back, and then like COVID sent him back down. But he was in Miami for like 10 years before that.
Wow.
And we could be, New York, Miami. We could be.
I mean, that's just what it is. It's like the sixth borough at this point.
Exactly.
Like, Miami is like right here.
Literally, if I needed to see a client, I could be on a flight at 7 a.m., be with the client all day, and be home for dinner.
Exactly. Honestly, it's so quick and so close, and it's a similar vibe. But good on you for taking it 7 times. Yeah,
my wife said to me, she's like, she looked at me and she's like, I saw the defeat in your eyes after the last time you got a 69 for the 2nd time in a row.
What's the pass score?
So the pass score is 75.
Okay.
But when you fail, they tell you your score. Dang. When you pass, it just says pass. So they don't even tell me how many, like, did I get 75, 76? Did I get 98?
Yeah.
No idea.
I'm sure you could find out.
I don't know.
Why?
I would like to know. But more importantly, like now I can go and like I have all these this marketing assets for this $6 million townhouse that I've been waiting to put out into the world, and now I'm just going to put a lot of paid advertising behind it because I made some really dope content. I'll show you.
Amazing!
I'll show you when we get off the air, and I'm ready to like be able to legally put it out and talk to buyers.
Well, if I have any buyers, I'll let you know.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So before I let you go, give me one word of advice for anyone trying to make it.
Be fearless. I think a lot of us are in our heads sometimes about what other people are going to think or whether someone can, do what they really set out or dream about doing. I think that if you're fearless in what you do and you just put yourself out there, that's just the best way for you to accomplish anything.
Let's fucking go.
That was succinct. That was more succinct than I usually am. I'm a very
Shermin
chatty
Lakha,
girl.
moving to Miami, maybe staying in New York, but regardless, Level Up is moving to Tribeca.
Fingers crossed.
The sky is the limit.
Let's hope so. Thank you.
Thank you.